Previously on Beyond Our Star.
Probably. We will still have 4 things to do until that point. That is, add money, research for technologies, actual generating of contracts, and actual satellite models which can be launched.
And now, we return to Beyond Our Star. Right, let's just jump straight into things now, because, I've got a lot of work to do on this project, and, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I'm feeling quite burnt out right now, personally. There's a lot going on in my life simultaneously, schoolwork and, other video games of potentially more importance to me, but anyway, basically, I've got nothing better to do, so I think first things first, I'm going to add money, because that's, necessary for every other thing that we're doing today. I'm going to tie this value into an actual launch provider, so then later on we can have, other launch providers as well, with bank balances. And then also later on you can tie the satellites and launch sites to specific launch providers. Eventually I might also add countries as well, but I don't know yet. I don't know. This game is so early in development, I have no idea what I'm doing. For now, let's just focus on the core features, okay? Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Before we get really into stuff though, I do have some housekeeping stuff to talk about at the end of the video for the 2 people who are actually interested in my videos. So yeah, stick around for that. And also make sure to like and subscribe, because I don't upload often and I don't have any plans to increase my upload rate, so just stick around for the next one, right? I'm so stupid. Okay, up next is research and development. So first thing to do with that is the tech tree, which is basically the same as every other video game at this point. Eventually I would like to have some sort of research schedule sort of thing, where it's not you have to research it over a given time and you have to budget it and stuff, but I'm not sure if I really want to do that yet, because that doesn't really sound like too much fun. Next, you then request for proposals for various rockets, stages, and engines, depending on what you've actually unlocked in your tech tree. Finally, you just use them in whatever, I don't know. Now, you may think at first that this is really stupid, and it is, because it's trying to replicate the not particularly very fun aspect of how government launch providers such as NASA operate. But I see it in a different way, because this isn't really meant to be the central component of Beyond Our Star, because the spacecraft are going to be your main focus, I feel, and performing different contracts and stuff, getting money, and eventually colonization and stuff. That's the main focus, I would say. And I'm sure eventually I will add the ability for players to make their own later down the line, but I also want this system to be available to non-player launch providers as well, so they can also create their own rockets. So the first issue was creating the procedural elements of this, so that's the tanks, the fairings, the interstages, and these were pretty light work to do, to be fair. Right, now the tough bit. How can we do proposals? Well, proposals will be procedurally generated based on what technologies and what systems are already available to the player. So I first made a system to create a rocket stage from a given payload mass and target delta V and all of the other information. A company can either use the stages and engines which are already owned by you, or will design them themselves if they have the ability to. Okay, that was weirdly easy. The stage delta V readouts are wrong. It's doing a double unit conversion, but still. Right, now for the rest of the system. First we need to actually generate the rockets. And there we have it! Now, let's see it launch. Where's the fairing so long? Oh, so that just kind of went to escape velocity? Okay, trying that again. Oh, here we go. Nope, nope, nope. Oh, I see the issue. These rockets are overbuilt as hell. Okay, trying it again, this time with only 600 units a second of delta V. Still nope. So I just decided to add clouds to pass the time. Ooh, pretty. Look at Jupiter, that's nice. Okay, back to this. Nope. Genuinely, I have no idea what's going on here. Like, it could... Wait a minute. Fucking moron. Still not quite perfect though, so I just need to fix the burn time calculations. Nope. 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 Right, just change the orbiting rendering to make it easier to do tonic patches down the line. And okay, thank fuck. I also decided to add FTS. Why did I just have a bloody explosion? Okay, I fixed it now. Okay, the launch sequence is just broken now. Okay, thank God I fixed it. Apparently. Even though I changed nothing? And there we have it. A fully procedurally generated orbital rocket. I do just want to clarify, this is not a black box solution. There is no AI involved here, just some questionable code. They are just the beginning of what you're going to be able to do in Beyond Our Star. And as you can tell by the title of the game, the main goal is going to be interstellar travel. And that will involve setting up a variety of colonies on different planets and unlocking exotic propulsion means and creating your own spacecraft. And the thing is, when it comes to spacecraft, I'm still not quite sure how I want to do them, because I want them to have some aspect of procedural generation, but definitely to a lesser extent. And right now, the only two types of spacecraft I really want to add are satellites and landers, both unmanned. Eventually I'll add crewed flight, but I'm not going to do that until I have a safe system, okay? So let's not think about that right now. But I do need a slightly smarter launch system, one that can actually take a target trajectory and inclination into account. Now, there is one notable issue we have in the current system, and that is the accuracy of the burns. Now, in real life, burn accuracy, unless you're doing a really eccentric transfer, is usually relatively lenient, because here, the thrust to weight ratio is so high and your relative velocity compared to how fast you can accelerate is also so high that it is really inaccurate. And well, on basically every orbital stage or anything that goes into space, you have reaction control thrusters. For now, I'm just going to add nitrogen gas thrusters to every upper stage and give them a little bit of fuel just to see them through. Alrighty, now, home stretch, contract time. This should be relatively simple, because I already have quite a modular system for creating these contracts, so it should just be a matter of creating code which can auto-fill these criteria. I could go into some sort of simulation sort of thing to figure out the capabilities of each of your rockets, but I'm not going to do that. I have neither the time nor the care. I'm just going to leave it to you to judge, and if you screw up, then it just fails the contract. So, womp womp, I suppose. That's so cringe, actually. Anyway, yeah, these worked perfectly fine, as they did before. And finally, it was time to do satellite models and generation, which was relatively straightforward. It was similar to a system which I'd previously tested in Aresta version 5. And with that, I mean, it's still really inaccurate, so for my final edition, I decided to create a basic lunar lander, which I first tested on Earth. One issue is that due to how fast the planet rotates, I would need to add some sort of system to affix the spacecraft in place on the ground once it's actually landed. I added a tonic patch system, which actually is surprisingly accurate. I wasn't expecting it to be that accurate, but it's gonna be a lot worse once I actually add planetary orbits in. I also redid the camera system to allow it to actually alter what body it's focusing to, and like actually look at a spacecraft specifically as well. And I also added sphere of influence indicators for all of the planets, and then finally we can launch a rocket to the moon and land this lunar lander on it. Nice. And with all of that, there's still so much fucking work to do, oh my god. Okay, so this only scrapes the surface of what I want to add in this game. First off, save systems are going to be an absolute priority. I do not know how I'm gonna do that though, just the way I've gone about everything. Second thing is to actually like add like resource management, actually like harvesting them to fuel your rockets and build like new things off-world as well. Another major thing I need to add again is, you know, actual planetary orbits, which are again a must, and also really complicated. I've really given myself a nightmare of a game here, haven't I? I thought this was gonna be a fun side project, but it's not. It's not a fun side project. Another thing I will need to add is also other planets as well, and eventually other solar systems once the tech tree gets to the point where that's feasible to reach. The thing is, like, part of me does want to release the game in its current state and, like, see how it goes, but that would not be good. That would be really bad, actually, and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Everything would just fall apart immediately, so yeah, not happening. But I think that this will still definitely release before Arresda. And in the meantime, and this is my, like, thing I mentioned earlier, for like the 2 people who care, I decided to create a Discord server for both Beyond Our Star and Arresda. It's gonna be a little bit of an experiment to see if anybody actually joins, just to like gauge like how interested my audience actually are. But hopefully it should also be an easier way for me to share information about my games. Yeah, it's gonna be quite empty for a while, I think. But the link's in the description anyways if you want to join. Anyway, I think that's probably it for today's devlog. Beyond Our Star is still in its early days, mostly because I barely had time to work on it given Arresda also exists. But it is making good progress, and I am looking forward to what's to come. And with that, all I have left to say is thanks for watching.